Welcome to another episode of the Murder Theater Podcast. I hope you're all having an excellent morning, afternoon, weekend, whatever you're doing, whenever you listen to us. Yeah, we don't care. As long as you're listening, doesn't make a difference to us. Tammy, how are you today?
I had a beautiful day out at a festival down here in Jacksonville, and now I'm ready to talk about wrestling and about all the shit I don't know about wrestling too, so I can learn more. I'm wondering who's following us where. Do they know where to find us? Do you listen? Do you watch? Do you like to watch? Do you like to watch a lot or just a little in small clips? So we have we have something for everyone. So all you need to do is you need to like us, share us, and subscribe to
Where can they find us, Tammy?
That's right. I'm trying to figure that out myself. I would like
Well, we're definitely on Twitter. I know that.
Well, yep, we're on Twitter, Murder Podcast Theater. And
Nope, that doesn't sound right.
and all the places that you like to get your podcast from.
That's true.
Whoever your dealer is there, we're there. Under the same name, Murder Theater Podcast.
Your
What
local
else?
7-Eleven podcast pusher.
We're on TikTok,
And-
we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. Yep. Find us, like us, love us, hate us, do whatever, say
Yeah,
something.
even if you hate us, let us know how much you hate us. Put it in the
Yeah.
comments. Let us know.
And Chris, how are you? How are
I'm
you,
good,
Chris?
man. I'm very good. I am excited to be doing another one of these. This is actually one of my favorite times of the week. We all get to sit down and talk about professional wrestling. Maybe one of the greatest things in televised sports.
One of the big news, let's start with some AEW. The big news is Saraya comes back into AEW. Apparently a very long history. Seems like there's a little bit of controversy behind it. I'm sure everybody knows, or if you don't know, she was injured a long time ago, had a very major neck injury, basically put her out of WWE later, but put her out for a long time. Didn't think she was going to wrestle again. Tony Khan did a really good job of keeping this one super quiet. We were just totally surprised on it. So she comes out, but there's a lot of rumors that says she's not cleared to wrestle. What exactly do you think she's going to do, Tammy?
What else is there to do? I don't understand.
Exactly.
Hang around and be a manager for a while until she can wrestle? I mean, I don't know. They could get creative and think of a lot of things to do. But would they do those things? I don't know. So it is interesting. But again, it's just a rumor. Like, nobody really knows. And that might be a purposeful rumor to surprise, where she can come out and really surprise in a match one day. So I don't get wrapped up in the hows or whys either way too much, or get attached to my thoughts on it. First of all, she's completely new to me. So I don't have all this history with her. So I'm just taking her for exactly as she comes out.
CM Punk Part 2 is what this is for Tammy.
Yes, but she didn't get the same reaction, and the monologue wasn't good and the monologue wasn't as smooth. But I totally always want to give everyone a chance, and I always feel like when people are excited about someone new, that's for a good reason. So, but I still am not just giving it to anybody, and I want to see what you're doing now, not what you did 5 years ago, or so it'll be. So I am fresh, and my heart and my eyes are open. I actually purposely didn't. There's been a lot of, her name has been coming up for a while, lots of nasty kind of like tidbits coming up. So I purposely did not actually click on it to read further about it, because I'd rather not, because that's, we'll get into that more later, but I don't want to be clouded by anything. I want to see what you can do. If you can entertain me, you can entertain me, and then I'll be cheering with the rest. And as far as what her role will be or won't, well, there's a lot of possibilities. There's no limits to creativity, but what would be realistic? I mean, right now it seems like she's trying to be a leader, like almost like a Deeb would be backstage, like showing the girls the ropes, showing them how to go to the next level. Something like that, like a mentor, like Regal. I don't know. We need a female Regal, so that would be cool. So, but we really don't know what is really going on with people's personal medical information.
That's true. That's true. What are your thoughts, Chris?
First of all, let's clear this up. This has actually been in the media quite a bit lately. It is Saraya, apparently.
Saraya.
Saraya. We can't say Saraya, even though that makes more sense for a lot of people for some reason. Saraya is apparently the correct pronunciation. So here's my thoughts on Saraya, aka formerly known as Paige. Excellent in-ring worker, comes from a family of wrestlers. Really underrated, I think, and was cut off just as the women's revolution was kicking in over in the dub. There's a lot that we didn't get to see from her that we should have. So if at some point she can wrestle, I think it'll be awesome. If it's just a like booker type of general manager sort of role, like what she had been doing over there the last couple of years, that's okay too, because she's actually okay with it. The in-ring stuff, the mic work has not been the best so far. Certainly not up to par with any of the good talkers, right? And not even up to par with what she's done previously in the past. However, I think there is an adjustment period happening. You're going from the super polished, really nice, here's what you say kind of show to a sort of more open, there's not really a script kind of show. So I think let's give her a little chance, see what's going on. The chaos that ensued around just this past week's Dynamite, based on this whole thing, it didn't feel very cohesive. It was very like loosey-goosey sort of what the hell is happening. Yeah, it was a weird segment altogether. And then putting together the first lumberjack match ever in AEW was interesting, but because the execution was a little weird, it just didn't feel like it made any sense. I think moving forward, if they can tighten this up and make it so it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? They just need to make it make sense and to have it be realistic rather than something where it's like a bunch of people in the ring that don't really know what's happening at the same time.
Yeah,
if they can do that, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, because when they called that lumberjack match, it was almost like everybody's like, okay. And I know Tammy was not familiar with a lumberjack match at all.
A terrible name for that type of match, by the way. I've never thought that made any sense.
Oh, they should have some logs if that's the case, and some flannel.
Logs, some logs, and some flannel shirts.
I still don't know what a lumberjack match is. I don't understand what. I still don't know.
So Rafe, there was a time in WWE where if it was a lumberjack match, there were some flannel shirts on everybody, and there was some weird stuff going on because it's very gimmicky. The whole idea is very gimmicky. But there's no lumberjacking. There's no timber involved. There's no. It's weird, man. Let's just call it something else.
Yeah. So I mean, they threw that together, and then it was like it seemed like a lame segue to set up Willow and Jamie Hayter.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, they could have done that a little bit. I mean, they just could have done that a little bit better. I was like, okay, you know, it's like, you know, I check in on Raw, I check in on NXT, I check in on SmackDown, and I watch the contrast between AEW and that organization. And the smoothness that WWE is in any of the formats that they have going just seems to be, it's just better. Okay. Now, I like the personalities in AEW a little bit better just because I'm more familiar with them. But the smoothness of WWE, AEW, you know, I hope that they get to that level because it just seems like the format flows, things flow. I think that there is a kind of a detriment to say that, oh, everybody, you know, let's make up your own shit back here. I think that sometimes that can go wrong and it can take away from the show. And you can see that the WWE segments and the WWE wrestling matches, it all flows so smoothly. I don't ever see somebody like anticipating getting hit like I do in AEW. I don't see anybody kind of like stopping. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, Willow was going to do her big tackle move that she always does, where she bounces off one rope, the other person comes, and then she takes that person out. Jamie Hayter was trying to time that correctly. and she almost didn't time it correctly. So, and you don't ever see that kind of stuff in WWE. And so I don't know if that is going to remain because everybody in the back has their own say on how the segments are going to go, or if it's better that, hey, this is what you do, this is what you have to gear up for. Let's go out there and perform that way. It's kind of like, and I always put this back. It's like having a jam band go up there and just start playing, or having a band that rehearses their sets. And I think that that's the difference between the two. Sometimes that band that rehearses their set, they all wear the same clothes, they're all doing the same thing. It's all smooth. It's a smooth process. I don't know, Tammy, what do you think about that?
Well, you don't really know what's really happening. It could be
I don't.
It could be the same in the other company. They've just more experienced at it, so it seems smoother. I don't know that every single move is scripted, and it was going to be part of my segment later, but we might as well talk about it now because I have something else for that too.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, I always wonder how much is scripted and how much kind of improv creative license do you take, and that you just come up with like right before the match. Now, I happen to have been able to talk to some wrestlers, and I purposely don't pry into anything, but I got what I got from one person is basically like things switch up at the last minute all the time. People get injured, they're out, something happens. You don't have time to practice that all week. You've got to go out there and do it. I talked to somebody that has had changes 20 minutes before they've gone out to a match. You don't know how much at what company that still applies. So is it overly scripting that keeps it smooth? Or is it the people that have worked together for a long time and learn how to really remember what they're doing right before? And that takes a finesse that is intuitive. Those are the things you can't teach all the time. It has to click in, like you're clicked in a Zen moment with that other person and you're synchronized together. Does that come from experience or scripting? I'm not sure. So that was going to be one of my Tammy asked, but I have something else to ask that is for a particular reason. Is how much do you think it is creative license and how much is it scripted? And should we ask? I don't know. But I think it's impressive to know when people do it spontaneously and make it work in big ways and they didn't practice all week. That's cool. I don't know if that's part of wrestling or not. That's why I was asking. Is that part of wrestling, that skill, or is it all just scripted and you practice it enough? But after talking to people, I know a lot of people don't have that luxury. But you could at WWE, you're right. But I agree. There's been a lot of chunkiness in AEW, and it's annoying the shit out of me, by the way. But when I see these big shows, I feel like some soul is lost too. So I don't know if I would trade one for the other. It'd be nice to have both.
Yeah. And I mean, I still think that you need to give Raw another chance. And I think you need to give NXT another chance.
I'm happy to give them chances when they have their camera work. I'm not hurting my eyes to watch wrestling.
Right.
You know, you mentioned the camera work thing, and I have to say this. Rafe, you're talking about how in AEW, a lot of the things you could tell when people are preparing for spots. You could tell when people are kind of tensing up or getting ready to go to the next thing or whatever, and it sort of feels like everything is kind of predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you throw 17 camera cuts in a 1 minute period, it's very hard to catch those things.
Very good.
So with the WWE production style of bang, 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 we're going left, we're going right, we're going center, we're going up, we're going from the other corner. With all of that going on, it's very hard to catch those tiny moments. However, when you can catch a botch or a slow moment on WWE, it's even more noticeable because of those camera cuts. But you don't see it as often because you're so busy trying to find, like, okay, where then this person's on this side of the screen, then suddenly they're there, and then they're over here, and then they're centered, and you're looking at them somehow, even though, is there a camera guy in the ring? I don't know what's going on. It's almost like, let's just keep them dizzy so that they don't notice if stuff is bad. Whereas with AEW, with Impact, and even more so when you're talking about like indie shows, pay-per-views, things like that, you don't even really catch those things unless you're looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not on that I'm on TV, like it's not that there's the hard camera. They're not focused on those things. It's let's wrestle. So it's a little different when you're talking about people that are, we have to make this look good for X, Y, and Z versus we have to make this look good for the people that are in attendance right now. I think there's a massive difference there.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, those are amazing points I didn't even think about. So now I'm that makes so much sense. Really does.
Yeah. I mean, I'll start paying attention to it. But, and the matches that I've watched for WWE, I've not seen it be as clunky as AEW. And I can tell you this, and even Impact is not as clunky as AEW, with regardless of the camera cuts. They are.
I agree with that to a point. I don't want to completely negate your point, but
no,
I do think there's some factors. But yeah, there is quite a bit of that with a lot of talent. But I think Tammy had a point too with experience and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I don't think you see it as much with somebody who's calling a match on the fly. It's that double-edged sword of creative freedom. We're going to script everything for you. We're going to do everything for you. But that means you can't decide what's happening versus, hey man, do whatever you want. And if it looks bad, it looks bad.
Right.
So yeah, I think it goes both ways.
Right. Well, exactly. So, I'll start paying a little bit more attention to that. Let's jump into some WWE stuff and some WWE news. Now, there's this big thing going around with the White Rabbit. You want to give a little bit of background for Tammy? Because I don't know if she's paying that much attention to
Everybody keeps talking about white rabbits. I figure it's just some mystery that's going to end up into a some mystery person's going to show up in a match. I didn't look any deeper. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
Unless there's, we're going into Alice in Wonderland.
So, well, I mean, that's not far off. I will try to break this thing down with the limited ability that I have. This whole White Rabbit thing has been very quickly developing into more and more and more. Every day that goes by, there's more White Rabbit stuff happening. Long story short, this White Rabbit thing started at house shows during breaks between matches at house shows, which are non-televised matches or non-televised shows altogether, right? Live events, let's say. There would be a break in action, and Jefferson Airplane, White Rabbit, the song, the a cappella version would start playing over the speaker system. And the lights were out, and it was this weird, what's going on sort of vibe. Instantly, people were like, let's get our flashlights out, because they're like, this is something. It means something. Nobody really knew what it was, but everybody wanted it to be something. There was a lot of people right in the beginning that were like, this has to be Bray Wyatt. This makes no sense. It's very weird. The lights are out. It's got to be Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is a prolific a fan favorite, also a fan non-favorite wrestler who's been so for lack of a better term, he's kind of mysterious and spooky, if you will. Was released from WWE a while back in the mass exodus of releases. There has been some speculation. Karrion Kross was known as the White Rabbit at one point in Lucha Underground. There was some speculation, which didn't make any sense because he's already re-debuted on the main roster. He's already back. He's already doing something. Why would they be doing a gimmick change or a character change right now when he's actively doing stuff?
He's there. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Some were saying, okay, it might be Malachi, a.k.a. Aleister Black, from back when he was in WWE, because there was all these rumors of, is he being released? Is he not being released? And all of this stuff. If they're bringing him back, this could definitely be him, because there was something embedded into one of the HTMLs of some website that was linked to on a QR code or something like that had some lyrics from one of his theme songs at one point in time.
Holy shit, who found that?
Listen, the same people that go on Twitter and complain about how there's no storyline are the same people that go and deep dive into these things and find all of this stuff. I don't know how it works. They hate wrestling, but they also can't stop like scalping all of it.
Right.
So that obviously doesn't make sense either, since now we're finding out maybe Tony's not letting anyone leave, but that's another story. So yes, it could be all of these people. It's most likely Bray Wyatt, and the most recent teasers are suggesting that. The most recent thing I think was on SmackDown. Maybe there was a phone number that they had displayed, maybe through a QR code. I'm not sure. There was a sign in the audience that was one of Bray Wyatt's old things that he had said at some point in like 2019 or 2018 or something, behind commentary when they had gone to a shot of commentary. But if it's not Bray Wyatt at this point, they are going to piss a lot of people off. Because at this point, a lot of people have traced this all back to Bray Wyatt. And you can go and watch various YouTubes on it. We're not going to cover all the details of all this White Rabbit stuff. What I am going to say is that Triple H has been talking to Bad Bunny again about making a return to the company. And if it's not Bray Wyatt, it's not going to be any of these other guys. I hope it's Bad Bunny, because anything else is going to be stupid. Bad Bunny makes a lot of sense, okay? The dude is named Bad Bunny. White Rabbit, Bad Bunny. Now, would a guy like Bad Bunny go for a Jefferson Airplane song? Probably not. Would he do the whole spooky gimmick? Probably not. But it makes more sense than somebody who's contracted in another company.
That's true.
So we shall see. My vote is Bray Wyatt. It's been Bray Wyatt from the beginning. I miss Bray Wyatt very, very much. If you guys are not familiar, go check out the stuff. Just go on YouTube and look up Firefly Funhouse. And you will see the magic of Bray Wyatt, a.k.a. The Fiend. Spooky stuff. Spooky
yeah, I know
stuff.
He's got like that Slipknot mask. It's pretty cool.
Made by the same guy that did the Slipknot mask, as a matter of fact.
I'm sure, man. They look exactly the same. So,
Looking forward to find out what that is, but Jesus, until it happens, I'm tired of trying to keep up with it.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I think we got another pay-per-view coming up for Impact. That should be exciting. That's on, I think, October 8th or something, like 7th or 8th.
Is it Bound for Glory? Is that what's
It's
coming up?
Bound for Glory. Yep, that should be pretty cool. And then I wanted to get into you
that was the
mentioned
other thing before we move on about the White Rabbit thing. Supposedly, according to Meltzer and according to Sean Ross Sapp, it sounds like the White Rabbit stuff is finally going to be revealed at Extreme Rules, which is WWE's next pay-per-view coming up as well.
which is this weekend on Saturday night.
Indeed.
So, but like getting back into you mentioned earlier the releases. Let's talk about the AEW releases. So we get the news that says Buddy's released. We get the news Malachi's released, and then a few days later we get, oh, no one's released. I'm completely confused. Tammy, do you have any insight on this? Were you checking any of this out? Where it's like suddenly they were released and then they weren't released, and then now Tony Khan's saying that he's not releasing any wrestlers. And I mean,
Is that a statement that you saw directly from Tony Khan?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm really confused about it.
I didn't see that statement, so
Okay.
I don't know. But all I know is I heard Buddy was being released, and then all of a sudden he was like, "No, that's not the case."
Right.
And I don't know about Malachi's he's gone. He's not wrestling for a while. I don't know that he got released out of his contract or they're just letting him take a break. I don't know.
I don't know. What
So
have you
here's
heard,
how
Chris?
that all worked out. When Malachi was first, and Malachi has publicly addressed this, he said, yes, I did ask for my release at one point. I have had creative frustrations, if you will. He had a couple of things on Twitter, and he did some stuff on, I think it was either Facebook Live or Instagram Live something. He went live somewhere and talked about it while sitting in his car. He's a little upset because there was stuff coming out about his personal conversations with AEW higher ups, talking about how he was dealing with some mental health stuff and trying to do these things. Rumor has it that, WWE has been reaching out to all these guys. Hey, we want you back. Get out of your contracts. Do what you can. So there's this weird gray area of all that stuff. However, Malachi has confirmed he did ask for a release. We were originally told that maybe the release had been granted, but it was conditional. And then it turns out maybe there's been no releases. The Buddy Matthews thing was supposedly, I want out, but they said no. And then there's that, there's been a lot of other cases where people are trying to get out of their contracts supposedly, but now Tony Khan's not letting anyone leave. Whereas before it was always, if somebody wants out, absolutely, go ahead. We don't care. If you're not happy here, it's not going to work out for us.
Right.
Whereas WWE has always had this policy of, we can fire you at any time. You're a contractor. We will let you go. That's all the mass layoffs they've done in the last few years. But there's been quite a few people where they're publicly going out and saying, hey, I've asked WWE for my release. And then that release gets denied. And they're still with the company, still being underused, still not getting in good creative positions. A lot of this is boiled down to creative freedom in the past with WWE. However, I think a lot of people are now looking at it like, well, that's not going to be a problem with Triple H in charge. He's my buddy. He's going to let me do whatever I want. And AEW was the place where you would go for a while, where it was like, oh, that's where I'm going to get my creative freedom. That's where I'm going to get to have a voice and do my thing. And again, it's that double-edged sword we just talked about, where creative freedom also means sink or swim. You're either going to go out there and do great, or you're not going to do great. And then you're going to be mad at me because you didn't do well.
Exactly.
Now, here's my thought on this whole, should they be released, should they not be released, who's asking for what, whatever. Andrade, I think, is the most recent one that's been brought up, saying he's asked for his release. Maybe he has, maybe he hasn't. Miro was one that everybody was like, dude, you should go back to WWE. He's like, I'm not leaving. But at the same time, he's also on social media going, this is stupid. I'm not happy. And there was something recently where they were like, they had posted about a match that he had, and he was like, you don't even have the balls to at me in this. So there, it's weird. And at the same time, it's all good for business, right?
Sure.
It all generates more eyes. It generates more word of mouth. People are talking about these things. So whether people get released, whether they don't, that's one thing. But if Tony Khan has now decided not to release people, is he wrong? You're talking about a guy like Malachi Black, signed to a 5-year deal, gets a year and a half in and says, I'm not happy anymore because now the grass is greener over there again.
Right.
Maybe that's not okay. I don't agree with that. I think if you sign up for a 5-year contract, you do your contract unless they're like putting you through some kind of slave labor or something. Like, you're getting paid well. You're on TV almost every week. Yeah, maybe you're not as successful as you wanted to be, but does that mean you ask for a release? The thing is, we don't know why these things are actually happening, and we don't know the details of whether or not they actually are happening. So here's my thought. You want a contract? Cool, we'll give you one. You better stay for it, right? Yeah. If we give you a contract, they shouldn't be able to fire you at the drop of a hat if you're not allowed to ask to go do other things. AEW is a very open place to work. They let people do indie shows. They let people have creative freedom. They let people have their own merch, their own social media stuff. You can go on Twitch. You can do OnlyFans, all of those things. WWE is not that lenient. Should you ask for a release from a company? I guess, maybe. But are you a contractor? Not really, but you are. Mm-hmm. It's all weird. It's all vague. The wrestling business needs some standardization as to what is and isn't an employee and what is and isn't okay for your employees. I think that would clear a lot of things up. Unionization has been mentioned for years. It's never happened. Wouldn't that be something?
That won't happen.
No.
Not with that huge company. No.
Oh, I know a little bit about contract law. I had to take a course in it once, because I used to work for a real estate attorney in Old Town Alexandria. And so I just remember the number one point on day one is that contracts are made and they always have an out. So it's the nature of contracts that there's always some sort of loophole, but should people use it? I agree. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a business investor, I mean, I think these contracts should just be treated as standardized contracts. A contract is a deal. You made a deal, you got to live up to your end. Now, like you said, if there was some certain circumstances that were abusive and violating your rights, then of course a contract is null and void because they're not following their part of it. So don't think that these aren't like pages and pages and lawyers to sign all this. And every contract in these kind of terms, they go over it with you. So you know what the real deal is. And it's a lot. And it means that both sides have obligations. So you're the contractor cannot be like, okay, for example, like Tony can't say, well, I've decided I'm not going to pay you. That's a breach of contract. You would take him to court. So that goes vice versa if you decide not to work. It is a deal. It has two sides and two sets of obligations that you have signed on to by law. So yes, I think we need to uphold those kind of documents to keep civil society. But contracts are made to be broken. All of them are. So there's always these little loopholes and exceptions, but I don't think they should be made easy, and there should be extenuating circumstances around them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like with Malachi. Hey, dude, okay, if you're hurt, that's one thing. Okay. If you're having some issues, with your health, mental health, that's another thing too. But to say that you're not getting creative freedom, to say that you're not getting on television, I mean, could they have used the House of Black a little bit better? Sure, of course. But he's still able to cut his promos. They're still spending the money to help him cut his promos. You know what I mean? He brought all of the dudes that he wanted to wrestle with in to AEW. Think about that. He got Brody King in there. He got Buddy Matthews in there. I mean, those were two of his guys that he brought into AEW. I mean, so it's like you're getting everything you need. So what else is there to this? I mean, it can't just be that I want to go back to WWE because I'm not happy. There's something more to this. So, hey, that's fine. I mean, it's money, but it's money. But you signed that 5-year deal, man, knowing what the money was. Sorry, bud.
A lot of people like to preach creative freedom until they realize there's a bigger paycheck somewhere else.
Right. Exactly.
And there has to be something said about if you've got a significant other elsewhere.
Yeah.
Malachi Black has Selena Vega. She's over there. Buddy Matthews with Rhea Ripley. She's over there. I get those things. However, you're in a contract. You can't have it all,
Yeah, you can't have it all. And that gets back to Andrade. I wanted to talk about Andrade real quick. Now,
Charlotte Flair is his wife.
Yeah.
We have a spouse.
Exactly. So that's the thing. It's like, okay, Andrade wants to get out. So now they have this match. If Andrade loses, he leaves AEW. If 10 loses, he loses his mask.
Hey,
that's
man. In Lucha, the mask is a big deal. If you put your mask on the line, that's a big deal. However, let's not pretend that Preston Vance has not had his mask off all over the internet for a long time. This is not a real no mask match.
He has.
This is like a BS segment. What do you guys think? Do you really think Andrade is going to leave with this?
Yeah, I think he would.
Why?
Because, I mean, it's just my opinion. I just think, why not? This is like setting it up. He leaves forever. Fine. Then he can go do what he wants. And then why I think he has a good possibility of losing, because it's the anniversary of Brody Lee's last match. And I don't think they would do that to the Dark Order. And if they do, then fuck off, AEW, because that's fucking wrong. That dishonors somebody's memory, and you should not fucking do that.
Tammy's very, very bitter on AEW right now.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The stakes are very low for 10 to lose, though. If he loses, so what? He loses his mask. It's not like 10 is a household name right now.
I get that for him personally, but there's an honor and there's a fandom at stake that isn't going to like to see that memory disrespected like that.
And also, though, if Andrade is to put over 10 on his way out the door, that's really doing a job on your way out. That's like the pinnacle of professional. Like, I'm going to lose to somebody who's not even on even 3 steps below my pay grade. If you're going to lose on the way out like that, hey, man, nobody's ever going to say you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. I think it would be awesome, and I think 10 deserves to be elevated.
Yeah, but man, I don't want Andrade to go. I just don't. He's got Roosh now. I mean, they got that whole tag team. Them dudes are badass. I mean, they're like Lucha Gold. And it's like, they have great matches that people just seem to forget about. It's like, are you kidding me? Every time Andrade's in the fucking ring, he's a fucking killer. It's like, I don't want him to leave. I don't. I want to see him more.
But if it comes down to it and that's the scene, I think it's the honorable way.
Well, that shit's going to make me grumpy. I could tell you that right now.
I like Andrade a lot too. So I mean, I've always enjoyed him. It's not about like or dislike. It's, if you're gonna put that on the line on that date, that's the way it has to happen. And if it doesn't, then you're fucked up because that's wrong. Think of the little boy that's there on Dark Order -1.
I'm in the middle of both of you. I think, Tammy, you raised some good points about the Dark Order stuff. Rafe, I agree with you too. I like Andrade a lot, but have they used him well?
No.
Not really. He's kind of been squandered. So I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to leave. I would be surprised if it ended this way, though. Despite the fact that it's the Brody Lee thing and all of this stuff, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll have to check it out. So last thing I want to talk about is, and I know Chris probably knows a little bit more about this than any of us, Anaki. I guess he's passed away.
Antonio Inoki. Yes.
Inoki.
So Antonio Inoki, martial arts, and a pro wrestler, founded New Japan Pro Wrestling in 1972. So we have Antonio Inoki to thank for everything New Japan that has influenced wrestling around the world. There's some memorable moments, okay? With Ric Flair in, when was it? 1995 Collision in Korea. The first wrestling event, actually the first event, I think, at all, put on by an American company in North Korea. Ric Flair versus Antonio Inoki. It was a very big deal at the time. And that's, we're talking about steps moving forward and pushing boundaries and opening up to the world. Not just through the start of New Japan Pro Wrestling, but also through a series of events and things that he was involved in that elevated the sport. There was also, so there's this famous match with this guy that was called the Great Antonio back in the day, who was this sort of, not a great wrestler, but like a great ticket guy. Like he could really push tickets, but he was a terrible wrestler. He was just a very gimmicky guy, sort of like I could wrestle 20 alligators and that sort of thing. And there's this famous match where he was no-selling everything Antonio was doing in the ring. And Inoki's just trying to do, like, at one point he hit a drop kick and the Great Antonio just sort of stood there and acted like it wasn't phasing him. So it turned into a shoot fight in the ring. And Inoki went just full fists, kicks to the face, all this stuff. And eventually the ref called the fight and said, hey, the Great Antonio can't continue or whatever. He was not a mess around kind of guy. He was a no BS sort of, I'm a professional. This is a sport. We're going to do what we're doing. And if you don't cooperate, get out. So, I mean, the contributions that this guy made to the business are undeniable and kind of too much to mention, really, in just a 5-minute segment. So, rest in peace. 79 years old, almost 80, probably a pretty full life. Lots of accomplishments, lots of achievements. I don't think it can be said that he had a bad life, but obviously it's never great when somebody who does all this stuff for the business disappears. So, rest in peace, Antonio Inoki. Thank you for everything. I know a lot of people are kind of, who is this guy? But, the research is out there. Go find it on YouTube. Go find it on Google. Look him up. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that.
Okay, so looks like, just to kind of go over some bouts that are coming up, we got Monday Night Raw. They're going to have Finn Balor, Damian Priest versus Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles. That should be a fun one.
Finn Balor and AJ, both former members of the Bullet Club, too sweet. I love this whole program right now.
Yeah, Braun Strowman is going to be versus Chad Gable. Otis for Johnny Gargano. I was checking out some Johnny Gargano, man. That dude's a beast.
Johnny Wrestling. Wrestling.
He's cool, man.
There's a reason they call him that, man.
I'm telling you, man. He is something else, man. That guy is in incredible shape, man. He can fly.
And his wife just re-debuted.
Oh,
Candice
wow.
LeRae is back.
Yeah, I was about to say Candice LeRae versus Dakota Kai is going to be there. And then we're going to have the Extreme Rules contract signing with Bayley and Bianca Belair. Who do you think? I think Bayley is, they're gearing Bayley up to win that belt, man. It seems like.
Man, I would love it if she
won.
won. I love Bayley so much.
She is getting a lot of press. And then we got Seth Rollins versus Matt Riddle, who I love Matt Riddle. He cracks me up, man. I don't know why, dude. I just like him.
Bro.
Bro, the 420 man. He's killing me. So then at Dynamite, we've got some stuff added here. We've got MJF versus Wheeler Yuta. I don't know, man. I think MJF's going to win, but he's going to win dirty. Then we got Roosh versus Hangman. Darby versus Jay Lethal. And
You know,
then we've
Roosh
got-
versus Hangman is going to be a good one.
That's going to be a smack fest. That's going to be a hurting one. There's going to be a lot of pain in that one. And then we got Daniel Garcia versus Bryan Danielson versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. That's an interesting role there. National Scissoring Day.
Can I just say how cringy it is when Billy Gunn says it?
Yep. Oh my
He did
gosh,
his
yeah.
he was in a segment the other night and he went, "Scissor me," and I was like, ugh. I don't like it when you do it, man. And congratulations to Anthony Bowens for being the first gay champion in AEW.
That is
Gay,
awesome.
First gay black champion as well.
Yeah.
Well, I guess gay, but not
He
Nyla-
said it. He said it. He went on Twitter or something, was like, first gay African American champion in AEW history.
Yeah.
I don't know what the facts are behind that. I'm just saying what he said. So congratulations,
he's not
Mr.
wrong.
Bowens.
Yeah, he's not wrong. I was just thinking. I don't think Nyla is perfectly straight. I know that she has a wife. But that is a lesbian. So for a gay male, yes, and I think it's awesome, and it's one of the things that I love about AEW.
Maybe he did
Yep.
specifically mention being a gay man. I'm not. I'd have to go back and look at the tweet. Maybe I'm wrong. Forgive me, internet.
No, he's right, regardless. But I was just saying, not the first LGBTQ champion necessarily, but definitely we
Right.
want to give him all the props in the world for being the first gay male of color champion there. We need more of that to the point where we never have to mention it again because it's completely just normalized.
Nyla did have a title at one point, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
she did.
Early on, because that's one of the things that drew me to AEW when I knew like that she was a champion. I was like, I want to learn more. Then wrestling is more inclusive than I had thought, and I want to really like open my eyes to it. And now look, here I am enjoying it all the time and podcasting on it.
Well, whether he misspoke or whether I misspoke, here's the inclusivity in the business, huh?
Exactly. So that also two more things on Dynamite that's going to happen. Luchasaurus is going to be in action. And then Tony Khan announced that there's going to be a 15-minute overrun to Dynamite, which is quite interesting. So he's got some plans coming.
I want to backtrack
So
for a
that's
second.
what we
I'm
got going
surprised
for.
Tammy didn't smash her computer just now when you mentioned the dinosaur, man.
I know. Tammy does not happy with the Luchasaurus situation.
I'm not. I'm disappointed, and I don't like. He was a happy person to me. Now he's not, and
Oh, let's be real. You've always shitted on Luchasaurus ever since you started talking about his dollar store mask.
It was
Yes.
the mask. It was the mask, not the wrestler. And you know what? I was just about to mention the mask again. Because I still don't like this one. It still looks like something I could get at the cheap section of Target for Halloween. It's just black.
I'll never forget when he came out with his new darker gimmick and you were like, all he did was spray paint that stupid cheap ass mask.
Yes. I just think he's better than that. And it's actually a compliment to him, not an insult. I think he's better than that mask. I'd love to see him have his own character without being the sidekick of all these other people because he is bad blah blah. He is a bad lass and a badass. And he's up there with Wardlow. He could powerbomb Symphony somebody.
Sure. He's great. Underutilized as hell right now, but he's great.
Because he's got a stupid mask.
Yep.
Yeah, but how far can a dinosaur go? He doesn't even talk. Come on.
I know.
Exactly.
It's true.
Get him a new gimmick. He might be able to do something.
Yeah. They're doing it for Jungle Boy, who's now Jack Perry.
That's true.
So we're
Hey.
getting him from boyhood to manhood now.
JR has always called him Jungle Boy Jack Perry.
Always. This kid's a premier athlete.
Oh, man.
So let's talk about the AEW's women's division. Tammy, what problems do you see and what do you think you would like to have changed in that? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I can get real philosophical up in here on this one because the fact that it's a women's division that we even have to speak about bothers me. Right? This should just be wrestlers.
That's a fair statement, but in the context of AEW, there is a women's division, so.
So now I'm going to go on that. But that's one of the things that bothers me. The other thing is that I just think that I've seen it decline since I started watching, and it's really letting me down and pissing me off. I feel that we all know the right people that should be elevated at the right time, because timing is everything as well, has not happened. Mm-hmm. And they don't get equal time. Like, this should not be like, oh, it's all just like one or two with the females, and then the males get everything. And it's still got full of misogyny here in so many ways. So I feel that they need more support. They need more people in there supporting them. They need better storylines. Like this whole, like, I don't know, I think some things have just been clinging on for too long and not gone anywhere. I don't think anybody's invested in any one single storyline that women, I can't even really think of one that intrigues me even remotely right now.
You mean Trina showing up didn't blow your mind?
No. And then it was a fucking heel turn day one. It didn't build up to shit. It made no sense. No. It's really a shame. And I'm not feeling good about it at all right now. And I'm very unhappy with it. And it's one of the things that I'm not real excited about AEW right now at all. And they need to turn it around, because I'm wanting to focus on other things. I just got to find the right things to focus on that have not terrible camera work that hurts my eyes. But other than that, I'm just not really into it right now at all. And I'm not into the women's division at all, even though I like a lot of the women wrestlers.
Exactly.
I mean, talking about you, Kevin Dunn. Yes. Get your shit together, buddy. You give us all a seizure.
Exactly. My thoughts on the AEW women's division is they put the TBS title on Rampage, which is on TNT all the time. Which makes zero sense.
You know what? I never even thought about that before. You're right.
I mean, think about it. As she defends the TBS title on TNT.
That's almost hysterical.
And then Wardlow defends the TNT title on TBS.
That's fantastic.
What the fuck?
We're like a clown show right now with this.
That's very true.
What? I mean,
I will say, I never noticed that before, and I'm not exactly a casual wrestling fan. So, yeah, God, that's terrible.
It's the truth.
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, first of all, they need to take the people that have been there, the wrestlers that have been there, and push them to being there. They had an excellent thing going with Bunny and Penelope, Ty and Anna Jay. One of the most killer matches that I have seen in AEW in the women's division. We were there, witnessed it. That street brawl was classic. And then
absolutely,
the minute that ended, it seemed like the whole women's division went dark.
It crumbled. It crumbled from there.
Now they stuff Penelope in the group with what? Jamie Hayter and all them? It's like, no.
Yeah, they threw her in at the last minute, huh? Like, oh, hey, you're a heel, get in there.
Don't do that. It's Bunny and Penelope were killer together. They were killer together. And now they took them and they separated them apart, and there's no more storyline. They could have rode that Anna Jay, Ty Conti, or Ty Mello fucking story forever. I mean, they could have done a number of matches. Okay, and that was like the only like dangerous match I've ever seen on a women's division. I've seen no table matches. I've seen no ladder matches. I've seen nothing, but I've seen them all in other promotions. I mean, Impact is doing ladder matches. Tammy and I watched Masha and Ali Catch getting the shit beat out of each other.
And shout out to Ali Catch. Welcome to Impact, sort of. Great job. Great fucking job.
I mean, that
It was
match was
great.
killer. And it wasn't even a major match. It was just, it was awesome. So it's like, why aren't they doing that? They have the talent to do it. They have the talent to do it. They have the people to do it. You know what I mean? And they're just not doing it. I mean, it just needs a complete fucking reboot. Everybody wants Jamie Hayter to be the championship. Let her take it from somebody. Toni Storm is okay. All right. She's a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong. But as far as like being the champion, I mean, she's, you know, it's like Hayter's better. There's people that have been in the division longer that are better. Ruby's better at it. There's a lot. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just making me mad. They need a reboot. They need better stories, and they need to have more than one match. I mean, WWE has more than one women's match on a night. They all do.
2 years
You know what I
ago,
mean?
you wouldn't have been able to say that, but yes, you're
Right.
correct. Triple H
It's
has
correct.
already done miles beyond what Vince ever did with the women's division. Yes.
I mean, it's more exciting in other promotions than it is in AEW, and it's a shame because the wrestlers in AEW are top fucking quality. I don't know. What do you think?
Man, you know, all of us were super high on TJ when that was a thing. And Penelope and Bunny. That was the peak of AEW. Like the women's division over there, that was when it was the best. And then it fell apart. Penelope was injured for a while. There was some stuff going on. Where has Nyla been? I haven't seen Nyla on a main show in quite a while.
She just did a promo. I found Rampage. She's going to face
Yes.
Jade.
Yes. But we've had many weeks, if not months, that she's been missing from TV. You got Emi Sakura, who's very underutilized, sticks to dark shows. Abaddon, underutilized, sticks to dark shows. They've got fantastic premium talent that they do not use. Serena Deeb has been used completely wrong. They did the 5-minute challenge thing for a minute, and then it just stopped for no reason. That was a good concept, terrible execution maybe, but it could have worked. Why is Jade Cargill still holding a belt? Some of these matches have been so unrealistic and terrible. Don't get me wrong. I've actually turned a corner on Jade. I think she's improved drastically since her debut. She can go 10, 15 minutes in a match now, but they don't use her that way. They use her as a squash, and in unbelievable squashes that make no fucking sense. They dropped the ball on Ruby.
Big time.
Ruby Soho came in, could have changed the game, right? They're gonna do the same thing with Saraya. Saraya. I'm gonna say it wrong too. I apologize. But it is what it is. They have the tendency to bring these women in. It's a big deal at first, and then they fizzle out. I have to disagree with you on Toni Storm. I think she's an excellent champion. I don't think she has been used well. I think the whole Thunder Rosa thing and the way they did that, I think she's a scapegoat for Tony Khan saying, hey, we need somebody else that draws better ratings. Thunder Rosa's an excellent wrestler, maybe not a great talker. So they sidelined her. That's all debatable as to what the real story behind that is. The women's division is in trouble and it needs help. They were on the right track before they started trying to turn it into something it wasn't. The storylines don't necessarily need to be there. You've got a roster flooded with female talent. Use them. Use them. We don't need Britt Baker to be the center of attention every week for 3 years straight. Period.
No.
As much as Britt Baker is talented and amazing and awesome, which, by the way, she's doing great on the mic again suddenly, still, there's a lot of people that they just have like a back catalog of people. Like it's if you were to walk into a room and say, here's all the greatest female wrestlers right now today on the planet, AEW has like 60% of them.
They do.
They're not on TV. They're not being used.
They're never on.
And when they are being used, they're being used way under where they should be. At the end of the day, the only way to fix this is to do that reboot you mentioned. I hope Saraya is a part of that. I hope that what this is, even though it may be off to a clunky start, I hope this is their way of starting to try and put some fire back into it, to put some spark back in. For a while there, we had, what do we have? The baddies, this whole sort of catty, I'm better than you sort of a thing. Doesn't work. They always default to this kind of women talk bad about each other sort of a thing. And there's more to wrestling than that. There's more to storytelling than that. You don't see dudes in these lame ass, you don't wear the right clothes storylines.
No.
It's dumb. It's immature. It's stupid. Come on, guys. Come on.
Come on.
Don't get me started.
No doubt. Don't get him started. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're going to need to improve, but we'll see how things come down the pipe.
Let Abaddon win everything.
I think so too, man. I think she's awesome.
Let Abaddon win everything. Bring Thunder Rosa back in like 6 to 8 months when everybody kind of forgot that she had those weird, awkward 8-minute promos where she didn't really know what to say.
Right.
Let everybody forget that. Let her come back and just be a badass.
Exactly.
Let Jamie Hayter have a reign for a while and just beat the crap out of everyone.
Everybody.
Let her have her own faction.
Right.
Get Britt Baker
Willow
to have nobody. Yeah, let Willow do it. Willow could run a babyface faction. Why are there no women's factions? There's the baddies and there's Britt Hayter and her little crew. There's no big factions. There's no elite in the women's division.
No.
There's no like, you know what I mean? They could do so much more.
Take Willow and make her a faction.
Like Rico in the women's division.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me that we're sitting here today. WWE is doing way better with their women's division. That's bananas.
Yeah.
If you had said that to me a year ago, I'd be like, you're out of your fucking mind, man. There's no way. But here we are.
Yeah, they're killing it. It's so much more exciting. It really is.
Wild times, you guys. Wild times.
You can call us.
Yeah. So, we've been talking a lot about, what we kind of don't like about things. Why don't we talk about a couple of things? Like, Tammy, what don't you like about wrestling overall? Like, what are some things that kind of like get on your nerves? I know you kind of mentioned some things when we were watching some wrestling today or the other day. And I'm just curious what your opinion is.
Tammy and Rafe only watch wrestling on Sundays to prepare for the show, guys, just so you know. They don't even watch this stuff.
Oh, I do.
You watch it.
I watch it.
What I hate, wrong word, but what I strongly dislike, first of all, I don't like the gossip fans. And I feel like there's the fans, there's still this like underbelly of misogyny and transphobia and homophobia that I see pop up, and it's ugly and hurtful. And I don't like it. And I just wish it wasn't a part of it. And I just see a lot of people that want to tear a whole lot down all the time. And that's just not fun. So like, I don't like when somebody puts up a sign that says beer break when the women wrestle, which we've seen happen, or we've seen people like,
wait,
yell.
Hold on. What?
Yeah. So when women go up to wrestle, there's people that will put a sign up that says beer break. So meaning we don't want to watch them.
I can't understand that. Because legitimately, and you guys should know this by now, women's wrestling is like my favorite. Like that's probably some of the best stuff going today.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah.
I can't comprehend that. And tell somebody like Allie Ketch that. Tell somebody like Penelope Ford that. Jesus, I can list a bunch of names of why that's stupid and doesn't make any sense, but now I'm just as offended as you are.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
And then like people have yelled things at Anthony Bowen and at Nyla Rose, so it's like that's the underbelly that I don't like. And then I don't like how the gossip actually sometimes affects the real wrestling world, like with Sammy and Ty. Like I feel like their whole course of their career was altered because of people talking a lot of shit about their personal life, instead of just letting them show their skills. And now they're like forced into this heelish faction that just doesn't feel them. So I don't like that about it. And I think that there's a lack of creativity at times where like, it's all heel turn, heel turn, heel turn. And like, there's other things people can do. You know what I mean? Like if you don't believe that there is then you have a lack of imagination, because imaginative people could think of a lot of different avenues and swirls and twirls to do. Like, I don't ever accept that there's not any more new, fresh ideas that exist.
That's very
One of
true.
my two things I dislike about it, I mean, but there's lots of things I like too. So it's not like I'm just sitting around dwelling on those. But if you were to ask me, that's my answer on the things like I dislike about it. That makes me feel, ooh, you know.
Yeah, you know, I hold the same views as Tammy on a lot of that stuff. The things that I really I like it when, I don't know. There's a lot of things I like. I like the technical smoothness of matches when they get when the moves are really cool and there's a lot of good high flyers. I really love that. I love it when you can watch a promo and the women are elevated a lot more, a lot less than, you know, a lot more than AEW's been doing lately. And so those are a lot of things that I do love about the wrestling. You know, and I kind of have to agree with Tammy on the stuff that I hate. Like some of the rumor stuff does influence things that it shouldn't have to influence. Like I strongly believe what Tammy said about Ty and Sammy. You take two excellent wrestlers, right? And you've turned them into heels and basically buried them in the mix. They're buried in the mix. I mean, think about the ladder match with him and Cody Rhodes before Cody left. That shit was fucking epic, man. The things that he was doing, that Sammy was doing, were amazing. And then he was ghosted because everybody in the fandom got all pissy about his relationship, which no one should give a shit about. Now, granted, he put it on the air, but who knows how he got influenced to get that put on the air? You know what I mean? Oh, check it out. This is going to make you a face. I could see people talking to him. Get that relationship up. You're getting engaged. Do it on national television. It's going to be awesome. Well, you know, some of that shit when you're young like that doesn't last forever. And it didn't. And things went bad. And then it just turned it into a shit show. Those are the things I don't like that. So I have to, you know, 100% agree with Tam. So what do you think? Go ahead, Tim.
Well, was I supposed to say the nice things now?
You can say the
Yeah,
nice
what do
things.
you love about the business, Tammy?
I was like, you're saying things you love. I was like, oh shit, I don't want y'all to think I'm just hating over here.
Yeah.
No, what's something that you love about professional wrestling or the business or the entertainment value of it? Anything you love about wrestling?
So one thing that I really love is I love to watch how like people take a part of their personality and elevate it into their character. And then you see them go through a mixture of whatever the theater is, but also something real at the same time. And it's real blur and the lines are really blurred. You don't know which and which. Like that's brilliant theater. Like that's more than going to the community play. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot. And then so when like I like watching them like gain experiences and go through the journey too. And then when they have this big success, everybody feels it deeply together. And that is more of like a joyful, loving, celebratory energy in a high collective of people that I think is what we need more of on this planet. Even though I sit here and talk shit and I'm ready to like become unhinged at any moment. But really, like, if you knew my like baseline is really anything that I am passionate about, which is also human beings, like that's where that energy comes from. And I feel like that's what can really be in wrestling. It's like there's these collective, like, oh my gosh, the support when people are like, you still got it. You know what I mean? Like that is the coolest thing to watch. Like when somebody's like in their 60s, like staying wrestling and gets so elevated for all of his years of experience and telling someone they still got it, because we're all humans and like we will question ourselves even if we're still good at it, you know, like, and it's like, I love that motivation and celebration with the stories and the people. And I feel like that's the most special wrestlers because they can transcend a little bit of their own self into the character. And that's like part, like, I love the mixture of that because art sometimes speaks better and more clear and directly than any other means of communication from one soul to another. And so that's collectively, like even when everyone cried when CM Punk came to, like all of those collective emotions. And I love the current form of wrestling where now people can come from any shape, size, or style. You know, like it isn't one thing anymore. So that is cool to show what people can do, and they can show off their artwork, and it's not isolated. You can have like somebody like John Silver doesn't look very tall to me. You know what I mean? And then you have like a huge guy like Wardlow, or you have people like Orange Cassidy that keep their hands in their pockets. Like, do you understand the physics involved in that? Like to do like there's centers of gravity involved in flinging yourself around. You know, there's reasons why you use your appendages in space, in time, to keep you balanced. Like, it's cool to see all that different stuff. Like the athletic ability while you're telling a story is really unique, and it is really a high form of art in a lot of ways. It can be goofy art and it could be weird art, but it really is, and I think people have undervalued that for a long time. So
yeah,
there's my long-winded answer.
There you go.
At least I said something positive.
Yeah, and
set sail, boys. Set sail.
And then one more thing real quick before that I love about it. And, you know, to give you like an example, and the same thing kind of happened with the Lucha Brothers as it did with the Acclaimed. It's like them going from this organic development, like watching the wrestlers go from like this organic development and then to become champions. I like that. And I love that more than just the expected champion. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we expect him to be the champion. You know what I mean? It's like, I love the fact that the Acclaim, we were there from the beginning with the Acclaim. They basically got suspended for some of the raps that he was doing early on. We thought that was going to be it for them. Then they made a comeback. They addressed it. They kept at it. They have a very unique gig when it comes to what they do. And the fans just picked up on them, started loving them. And they deserve to be the champions. They won, which is awesome.
Let's not forget that at one point everybody was screaming to cancel Max Caster.
Oh yeah, they were ready to throw him out. And
here we are today. All those same people are like, "I love the Acclaimed."
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's not necessarily that you love a good underdog story. You just like watching the growth.
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I really like watching the growth. Thought it was cool how they handled the whole Caster thing. You know me, I'm super progressive. People would assume I'd be a cancel culture person, which is actually not even a one-sided thing, but I'm not, because I feel like you should always have room to learn and grow and work it out. Like, I don't think people should just be banned forever. If it's the people that double down that are problematic, you know, the people that are like, I don't give a fuck, I'm not going to grow. You know, I'm not going to evolve and learn. And they double down on things that are insulting or problematic. But other people will be like, we all fucking say and do fucking shit that we're like, oh shit, yeah, I should have thought about that a little bit more. You know, we all do that. We should not be demonized for it. So I am a believer, and let's work together to do better. Yeah. So I loved that they had a second chance to come back because they're young, you know? They're young and on TV. And, you know, it's edgy with comedy sometimes and all of that. So, like, yeah, I didn't always appreciate. I was one of those ones I was like, I don't like the way he's talking about to Julia, you know?
Me too.
We were all cringed out about it, but even the women, and I'm in a lot of women's group, I can tell you none of them called for him to be removed. None of them, like, we have fucking common sense. Like, there are lines and levels of shit that's bad, and that was minor. It was just like, we don't really like it. So that was it. And then they didn't do it anymore. And then we all moved on in life. And now they're the champions. And I think that's cool, you know, and I think it's good. And I think that they learned a lesson, and so did a couple other people, maybe unexpectedly, because it was in a headline in a conversation of why it's kind of like not cool, you know?
What do you love and hate about wrestling, Chris?
First of all, I agree with all that. If you go far back enough in these episodes, you will hear me talking a ton of shit about Max Caster and how he couldn't rep and how I thought he was a piece of shit and how I didn't like a lot of the stuff he was doing and how I could do without. I turned the corner, obviously. I'm a big Acclaim fan now. I'm one of those people. Forget the Acclaim. They suck. And now here I am, one of my favorite tag teams. Maybe possibly one of the greatest tag teams in the business right now. So I'm guilty. I'm very guilty. And I can say this, to your point, had I been on television in my 20s, oh man. people grow up, people change, people evolve, right? You get hyped up when you're young and you have all those emotions. I get it, okay? Love the Acclaimed. That was it. As far as what I hate about the business, I have to say that one of the things I hate the most, and you've already touched on this, is the fan base. I think we have this kind of very reactive fan base in professional wrestling. 1 second, they hate everything. The next second, they love everything that the person they hated was just doing last week. It's a very fickle audience. It's a very kind of with the trend sort of crowd. It's on the wagon, you know, like whatever's cool this week, that's what we're into. Whatever's not cool this week, we hate. I think that's always been a problem in the wrestling business. I think the fan base is probably the make or break on a regular basis. I think that's why you see people rise and then you see people fall. It has to do with that changing opinion, that constantly sort of what is everybody else into kind of a vibe, which is something you wouldn't expect to see in professional wrestling because it's sort of it's almost like the cool kids don't belong here. You know what I mean? It's a very sort of, I like wrestling. Oh, really? It's that kind of thing. So for the fans to be split that way and to be so judgy, it gets on my nerves really bad. Something that I love about the business, though, is it's my soap operas. It's my stories. You know,
Yeah.
it's
stories.
It's what gets me through. It's my entertainment. You know, outside of my pop culture stuff, I'm into like a lot of the nerd culture type kind of things. I like comic book stuff. I like sci-fi. I like horror. I like all those things. And I like fucking professional wrestling. Like, it just fits into that vein. And I love the extravagance of it. I love the showmanship. I love the big, weird, what's gonna happen sort of vibe. I like the extravagance and the nonsensical kind of, this isn't real, but it's real to me. I like the vibe of the kind of just idiocracy of it, if you will. Fantastic movie, by the way. But yeah, wrestling is great because it's stupid, you know?
It's fun.
And
Yeah.
wrestling
It's
is
just
also bad because it's stupid. So if I had to pick one thing I loved about it, it'd be that it's so dumb, it's wonderful. And if I had to pick something I didn't like about it, it'd be that it's so goddamn stupid sometimes. Just booking choices can ruin everything, and fans can ruin everything, and one bad promo can break your career.
It can.
Oh.
It really can.
And that's the worst. But I mean,
Exactly.
what a business, right? What a
Yeah.
crazy, crazy carnival of a world.
Exactly. So we're going to wrap this up here, and we're going to wrap up this episode, and we're going to get into a new segment. It's going to be called Tammy Asks. And Tammy is going to ask the audience. I'm sure she's got some notes, and I'm going to let Tammy take it away.
Well, normally this would probably be something more pertaining to something specific about one of the companies or some wrestling move. I don't know, but I actually I need assistance. So this isn't a real ask. Like,
We need your help, Internet.
I met someone today. I was at the Jacksonville Pride Festival all day, and I was wearing my, let me see it, AEW rainbow shirt. A couple of people asked me if I was a wrestler, which was hilarious and wonderful. But
You should have said yes, by the way. You should always say yes. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
that would
But,
be funny.
man, would that be fun.
They did ask me if I wrestled and stuff, and it was pretty funny, that conversation. But so yeah, it did come up in conversation, and somebody that I was talking to that was at the table I was helping out at was asking about non-binary wrestlers, and because asked me about, saw the shirt, asked me if I was a wrestler, and we got in a conversation, and it turns out they're making a documentary film. And so I think they are interested in learning about non-binary wrestlers that they can speak to, and maybe for the documentary. So, there was a lot going on. There's a lot of people there and coming to our booth. So I, threw out Max the Impaler is the first person I could think of. But I know there's quite a few that I couldn't just like come up with the top of my head. So I want to ask for everyone's help of trying to like jog my memory, and especially local to Florida, because they asked that would be the best start is the people closest to our area within driving distance, but anybody. So I have an ask on send me your favorite non-binary wrestler. And so I can pass it along to this person. The other thing that they're interested in this documentary exploring is taking like counterculture or the queer community, LGBTQ community, and when they've done sports and they've started their own thing that is just for like, for example, in non-binary, if it was just a wrestling league for, are they called leagues or are they just companies or promotions?
Promotions.
We'll call them promotions.
It was just for non-binary wrestlers and started their own thing, their own companies. And so the example was, that these companies become so cool in the underground that the mainstream starts kind of poaching the ideas from them. So I think they're going to try to track some of that too. So they want to kind of learn about like, these underground things of people that are marginalized and were historically excluded, started doing their own thing. And then people started being like, oh, now they're cool. So we're going to start stealing from it and putting it up on the main shows. So that's interesting too. So anybody that wants to talk to this documentary filmmaker, please contact me through the Twitter page and let me know.
Our Twitter is at AEMT Podcast.
Yeah.
Go on Twitter at AEMT Podcast and put a hashtag in there. Tammy asks, TAMMYASKS, and give us your answers, give us your responses, give us your comments, give us your questions.
Tag your favorite non-binary wrestler too. So that like I always want to support everyone. That's an important part in my heart and soul in life, to always be putting our energy and support behind everybody equally, making sure everyone gets visible. All you got to be is a good wrestler, and we want you to be seen, and we want to support you. And so if you know any promotions that are exclusively LGBTQ or transgender or non-binary, let me know, tag them too, and then we'll also pass that along. So in future ask will be might be more whimsical than this. So it's not always going to be like so specific, but it might be something like even just a question on trivia or something. So we'll see, but thank you.
And also, if you're a performer out there, and don't be shy to bring yourself into the conversation. We want to hear from everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So that wraps up this episode of the Murder Theater Podcast. A lot more coming up. There's all kinds of WWE stuff coming up. There's all kinds of Impact stuff coming up. And
GC Dub.
GCW is coming up. There's going to be craziness. So we'll have to try to catch up. I'm going to get Tammy into a little bit of more things, so she's up to speed on some stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to get Tammy watching some real wrestling, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
NXT. We got to get around some
suggestions,
WWE.
people.
There you go. And until
that's actually a great question for the audience too. If you have a good promotion that we're not talking about already, tell us what it is. Let us know what we should be watching, because we can't watch everything all at once, and we would gladly give some of our focus to something else if you can provide an example.
Exactly. That wraps it up here for the Murder Theater Podcast. Everyone have a great week, and we will see you in 2 weeks.